change to blue.
Yeah. The stickers.
So We'd like to welcome everyone out to study session today. Superintendent Farnsworth.
Thank you, President King. Appreciate that. We have 3 items on our agenda today. The first will be our fiscal year 2026 maintenance and operations budget. Jason will lead his team in that. And then following that, we will turn some time over to Scott to do some work on school land trust plans. And then the rest of the time we will give to Joel, and I will handle the recent audit that we had by OLAG and give a report on that. So, Jason, we'll turn over to you and your team. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. We're excited to be here for the FY26 operations budget recommendations. We did the capital budget a few board meetings ago. So we've shared this with the board. You've received this, I think, last night. So we have a PDF of the presentation. We also have a large print for you when we go through this. So Bee's gonna kind of get things started, kicked off here, and introduce our team that's supporting her.
Hey, team today, we've got Robert Boyer, the Director of Accounting, and Ryan Clark, the Assistant Director of Accounting. I also just want to highlight the budget team. They're not here tonight, but they do a lot of, it's our whole department that does a lot with this. Everybody, payroll, everybody. But in particular, Laura Lee Neverker's our senior budget analyst. And then we have Crystal Michaelis, who's just moved on to another position, but she's done a lot of help with this, so I want to highlight her, as well as Jen Nielsen, another budget analyst. So they do a lot, and I just want to thank them for the work that they do. If we go ahead and get started, the first slide, last year as I looked at the presentation, I realized that we stepped you through many different clicks to get to see where budget documents are contained. And Jason's done a really good job with getting us all on the business dashboard. So now we only had one slide and one click to go to. So as long as you have business dashboard, the operations documents will be within the FY26 budget process folder, that link that is on the slide right there. So all of it will be there.
And for the public that's still available, that same, not to get to this, but the documents are still available through the Business Services webpage on Alpine.
Part of the process that we start with is meeting with the district budget. We get all the requests and we'll go in that in just a second, but the first big meeting that we have is with the district budget committee, and that's comprised of a lot of different people within the district. There's 3 board members, there's 9 DLT members on that committee, there's 10 from advisory team, 10 cluster principals, and then 9 support staff that we use. And as part of that process, we divide up into teams, and each team is given a list of requests and they start prioritizing. And from that point, we also take those numbers and gather the data and then list the preferences by, how many times a team has selected it, if they selected it at all. And that's kind of how we kept progressing through this process. So, the operations process starts in December when we get the packets out to everybody. It's quite a long time. It feels like as soon as we get done, then it's time to start over again. But for operations, we turn it out, the budget packets in December. The budget detail for the request, the deadline is February 3rd. And then we meet as a district budget committee. Between the time that we get the requests and we meet, we're comprising and putting the spreadsheet together so that the district budget committee can meet on mid-March usually, to go ahead and go through those recommendations and meet as teams to determine the priorities. Then after that, the district leadership team looks at their recommendations. And then in April, we met with the finance committee and went in detail through, we handed out a list like we'll hand to you today, and went through and actually listed their recommendations, and we'll do the same with you tonight as well. And then we're meeting today. So, okay. And then that's just the budget calendar. It's something that I go by. I love checking it off every time we get something done. But that's just kind of, again, to show you how we go through this whole process from December all the way down to August. It will extend to August if TNT is determined and decided upon. But the main time that we will meet next with this whole process, where we combine the capital budget and the operations budget, is to bring you the budget book in June. And so that will be something that will go before the board with all the detail, and that's, you know, have seen it before. It's a 200-page document that we're gonna get working on right away. So, okay, you wanna add anything to the calendar here?
No, just on the calendar, so by statute, we have to have the budget book, and it's the superintendent's budget, and that is due by the end of May. So we'll have it ready the last day of May so that you can review it, but then we will present in that June board meeting on the 17th.
Okay, the first part that we start with when we are determining the operations budget is really to start with the main component of revenue. And the main component of operations budget is the state revenue and what the increase is from the prior year to the next year. And to really kind of simplify that down, it's really calculated by an increase in WPU and a projected student count for FY26. Just as a means of information, the projected decrease for FY26 is 226 students. The WPU is increased by 4%. The FY26 WPU would be 4,674. So those were two of the big components that we used to determine that state revenue estimate for FY26.
In years past, maybe 7, 8 years ago, that projected student count increase would be 1,200, 1,800, 1,400. So there's a lot of new revenue with student growth. The last few years it's been where we've had growth of 35 or 50 or 75. So we're staying pretty flat right now. With the future ones, after next year's growth again for the next 4 years.
And just to clarify, this is based on our projected student enrollment that we talked about like in November, so the numbers are based on that. Okay.
Yep.
Clarification?
Yep.
You guys are saying increase, but the presentation says decrease of 226?
No, it's
Well,
a decrease
it
of
is.
students.
Okay.
But in the next 4 years, it will be.
There's a projected, for student count, there's a projected decrease for next October, for this October coming up, and then from there, slight increases.
But the WPU is still increasing, so overall the student count went down, but the whole amount that we're using as state revenue is still increasing, so. Okay, so kind of broke it down a little bit different this year in hopes that it's a little bit clearer as far as where we use as a starting point for that revenue. The first item is the projected state revenue. So what I just went over, our projection for state revenue over FY25 is about 25.2 million. On to that, another revenue source that we've used in our projections is a credit from FY25 one-time funded requests. So those include secondary hold harmless, literacy textbook adoption, and comp high school. So those were approved in FY25, but they were approved as one-time funding. So that comes off and gives us more additional revenue in FY26 to use since it was just one time in FY25. You can see that 2 of those, are requested again in full for FY26, but then the comp high schools decreased a little bit to 8.875 FTE, and I think that'll drop off the next year. So. And then there are requests that are self-funded. Those include CTE requests and warehouse requests. So that income comes directly from those departments, and that was $546,000. And then we have increment funded requests, which were previously board approved, and that came to the amount of $16.8 million. Then there were 2 items, new district funding. We have $5 million that is set aside for the new districts for next year and the year after. And that came to $5 million, as well as math curriculum adoption, which was $2.8 million. But those were from different funding sources, so we're just adding that income to the total amount that we have to work with. And then you can see that those self-funded, the increment funding, and the new district funding and math curriculum are pretty much a wash because we have those coming from different income sources. So really, the new income that we have to work with is $31,822,000.
I just had back on the comprehensive high school, when you say that that's phasing out to 0, what are we talking about? Yeah.
Yes.
Which means they're going to have to absorb that in different ways because we can't not offer comprehensive courses, correct?
Right. Yes.
Just so we
The ones that are
brace-
set apart just for that, then they'd have to be approved through another source.
It'd have to be approved through another source. Okay. All right. Just want to brace for impact.
Okay. And then on the next slide, I just gave you a sampling. We're gonna go through in detail all the requests, but these are just a sampling. The total requests received were 76 operation requests totaling 63.4 million. Some of those requests include obviously a 1% COLA, and that is just for 1%. For contract and hourly, it'd be about 5.7 million. The step increase, and these also, the 1% COLA and the step increase also include the amount for SPED as well. The step increase was 7.6 million. We've just recently met with EMI, and the medical insurance increase looks like it'll be an 8.3% increase, which equates to 8.3 million. New school opening costs, 3.1 million. The elementary FTE allocation declined because the elementary FTEs, the enrollment's declining, then we have less FTE to allocate out, so it actually freed up some, gave us a little bit more of a credit within the available income, so that's why that's showing as a negative of 2.2 million. Secondary hold harmless, again, that was re-requested for FY26, 2.6 million. And then the comprehensive high school, 1.1. The secondary FTE allocation growth, because that will be growing, 1 million even. The literacy textbook adoption, this is one of a two-year request. So it was requested last year, the second half of that's been requested this year as well. And then the math curriculum textbook adoption of 2.8. And then there also was a request for SPED paraeducator flex support as well as 3 FTEs, and that's been added about 0.7 million. And again, we're about to go through a lot of this in greater detail, but just kind of wanted to go through some of the bigger requests. And then the budget priorities, as we see now, continued investment in teacher compensation, evaluate programs with one-time revenue. This is something that's come to us as questions quite often right now, is grant. Also grant revenue versus ongoing revenue. And then the SPED funding gap. That's always a challenge. And as SPED funding changes, so we're trying to close that gap a little bit. Then the next slide is just kind of a teaser for what we're going to hand out next.
Can I just ask one
Yeah.
question? On the evaluate programs funded with one-time revenue, I mean, we see this same principle reflected in our legislature.
Yeah.
Is this our choice, or is this something that we're doing because the legislature's doing it also?
I think it would be ours, right?
Which one, second
The
bullet?
second
The-
one.
I can comment on that. My understanding, and Dr. Rees, you can help explain this. We just have there's some questions from time to time when you have things that are funded. It's an ongoing need, but you're funding it with temporary funding. And so you're looking at those and say, is that something we're willing to be committed to long-term? And can we move it off of grant funding to ongoing funding? And obviously you can't do all that because we just don't have the funding to do that. So my sense of this is that we're evaluating programs that are funded through grant. Say, is there a possibility to pull that over to ongoing funding? Some we can, some we can't. We prioritize that.
So it's not necessarily an effort to eliminate it, it's an effort
No,
to shore up.
it's an effort to sustain it, to say
Okay.
if it's worth investing in, if it's something that we keep funding with grant money, if that grant money runs out and it's essential to what we're doing, we ought to move that over to ongoing funding when possible.
Okay.
We can't always do that.
Where it
but-
makes sense,
Yeah,
Yeah,
where it makes
the
sense and when we have the
legis-
resources to do that.
Yeah, the
so.
sense I get from the legislature is that they're looking to eliminate rather than to support, so I just wanted to.
Eliminate grant funding from the legislature?
One time, these things that,
Yeah.
like CTE and.
Not ongoing.
and
It's hard to
things-
hire when it's just a one-time.
Yeah, things that we take for granted, they're looking at and evaluating, and it's making us nervous. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, lots of colors on here, but let me just kind of step you through a little bit. At the very top, so you can see the request numbers as we've received them, but at the very top is the required new district funding set aside. It's $60 per student, so we're trying to prepare for that. That equates to $5 million based on our student counts. And then the blue section are anticipated priorities, because we're either already into like medical insurance increase, that's just something that we need to address. Other things that that are already part of things that we're involved in that we just listed in that anticipated priorities. Another one would be something like the building rental graduation. That's just going up, and there's really nothing that we can do about that. BYU's been great with us the last few years, but it's come to the point where we need to adjust our budgets to go in line with that. The orange section are prior approved increment funding items. And then the white section was everything else. If you go through, and then if you work your way across, the first green column is the total requested cost. That's what came through on the initial request. The gray column was what came out of the district budget committee recommendation in March. And then there have been 2 district leadership team recommendations, as well as the finance committee recommendation. All of those meetings really encapsulated the required new district funding, the anticipated priorities, and the increment funding. The increment funding is kind of a given, obviously, because it's funded already by increments. And then after that, you can see that a lot of the yellow in the columns, those are other items that have been discussed and decided as priorities. That includes COLAs, as well as district. I'll go through some of these new ones. On line, right underneath line 39 or request 39, we have district support staff stipend. So the legislation that just came through as far as educational support stipends of $1,000, it's a one-time $1,000 stipend. That did not include anyone that's on a district level of departments. It's just directly working with children or in the schools. So this is to cover, to make sure that all district support staff are able to receive that. The next part is part of the
And that's our classified employees.
classified, yes. The OTPT, SLT, ESA is the educator's salary adjustment amount. And again, those aren't originally included in that, so that's the district side of trying to cover those positions for that adjustment. Again, that's the $1,000 as well as benefits on top of that. Right?
Yeah, and so the OTPT, SLT, so a couple years ago when the 4,200 was added to teachers and counselors, other things, the OTPTs and SLTs didn't have it the first year. Last year, we added that 4,200, which became 4,452 this current year. The increase of 5% on that 4,452 plus adding 1,000 isn't funded by the state, but that's the part to be able to keep those. And that's the number of employees on that one is about 25 to 30 employees, so that's why it's just the 57,000, and it's just the increase on the existing 4,452 and the $1,000 for that. And the $1,000 going to the ESA isn't a one-time like the education support professionals. It should be ongoing, according, as long as the legislature funds that.
Okay, the next item, the 2-tier 401k, that is, last year there was a 7%, 0.7% amount that they would have to contribute, but then to make up for that, the district would contribute into their 401k of 0.7%. That's going up to 0.81%. They'd like to do the same thing and cover and put that amount into their 401k to cover for that. Which is half.
Well,
Half, sorry. Well,
for the certified, it's half, and for the classified, it's the full amount.
For the rest of the URS.
Yeah, so the URS employer, this is a credit of 2.3 million. So the amount for tier 1 and tier 2 that the employer has to pay to contribute to keep up on the tier 1 and tier 2 benefits for defined benefit then it was a 0.5% decrease. So that, with all the employees, comes out to about $2.3 million of savings that will be realized as we run payroll each month.
The next item, job study placements. We met with the Association for Classified Employees. There was a job study done in 2022, is it? And there were a list of job study placements that would change certain employees' positions to different job lanes. And so we've kind of been chipping away at that long list, and so this is just another means that we just met with them. And these were based on their priorities for keeping to chip away at the list. I think we only have a few that's left that we haven't covered. And so that would be about $133,000 to keep up with the job study and make those changes.
And that amount is on all of your sheets, but wasn't included last night because that meeting happened today.
Again, math curriculum textbook adoption funding, $2.8 million. And there are other funding from other sources on that as well. There were other things that came up recently when we met with the Finance Committee. There are SROs that are not, first of all, the middle school SROs, the Students Resource Officers, they're half-time in middle school, so this is a request to make them full-time. But also the Orem SROs are paid at a different rate than other SROs within our district, so it makes them full-time, but it also, full-time. And then it also equalizes all SROs to be the same amount. And then the next item is also the high school SRO equalization. All of those are full-time at high schools, but they're not equalized. Again, the Orem SROs are paid at a different rate than the rest of the SROs. So that is in a means to equalize that. We mentioned previously item 59, paraeducator flexibility support. That would be for that as well as 3 FTEs, which we're estimating to be about $725,000 for that. And then towards the bottom, we have the last 4 items, 73 through 76, are all self-funded through CTE or the warehouse. So those are, again, part of that self-funded income. If you have any questions, the goal for tonight is to fill out the orange column and to work through that with your recommendations as we move forward through the budget process.
So the bottom line is, it's under budget by 58 million, is that right? Or what's that in the bottom of the
No,
orange column?
sorry, the orange column is just great right now because we don't have anything in there. Okay, but as of through the process, the last column, we're at about 4.8 over budget. That's it's a lot better than we were last year at this point in time when we went through this process.
Okay.
It's a lot less than last year. And anyway, so no, go ahead.
So what I was looking at there, the key here too on the operations budget, when we do the capital budget, we're showing the full thing. So whatever that amount is, goes back to 0 each time. Our budget, our capital, or our general fund budget for the year is not 60 million. It's more like 850 to 900 million. And so those things that are ongoing continue on. We add to those, like the bonus or the 1% COLAs, whatever the COLA is. We're adding to those. We're adding new positions, and it's growing that. So this only represents about 7.5% of the total budget that you'll see in June. This is all the new revenue and new asks to be able to bring that in. And then the part there with the $4.8 million deficit, what we share a lot is when we're budgeting and we're looking at, okay, what's our revenue going to be? It's probably the new revenue's in this range. Let's say it's between 50 and 60 million. We're always going to budget for the worst case, 50 million in revenue. Let's say the expenses are also 50 to 60 million. We want to be conservative there, so we're going to say it's the 60 million. So if we're doing it that way, we're going to show a $10 million budgeted deficit. But when it comes in, we know throughout time on averages that it's going to probably both meet about 55 right there in the middle. The odds of it being worst case on both sides are gonna be very low. And as we get through a year, if we see that that revenue is gonna be there, we can rebudget the expenses a little bit to be able to match that. So hopefully that helps to bring that in, the perspective, the philosophy
I
there.
guess my question was, so is this 1% COLA? Is that what we're thinking we're gonna be able to do?
No.
No.
Hopefully it's more than that, right?
Right. So in the green column, the 1%, the very first column, you can see the 400,000, the 4.6, and 728. That's what each of those would be if we just did 1%.
Right.
But over here in the last one, you can see it's 1.2, 12, and 2. So you can see the multipliers. It's because of all the different, like the $1,000 bonus and the added to the ESA, we had to break it down to a lot finer detail. But this is the end result there. Instead of it being,
We're still in the process of determining what that COLA would be.
We shared this morning in superintendent meetings, went out in the minutes what our recommendation is for that. We do have that on a discussion action item for tonight. And so part of the discussion is the whole budget here, and then find the comfort level of the board to hold on that employment benefit package for fiscal year 26.
So the recommendation then is calculated in the April 16th DLT.
Correct.
A fully funded recommendation.
Yes.
Thank you for that clarification. Mark, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I think you're saying that we're sitting pretty good with
I
that.
feel like we are, yeah.
So I think what's left is, or what the task, as I understood it, is to say, do we want to pull what's in the green and blue column over to the orange column? What do we want to pull over? If we were to pull over everything that's listed, then we would have the same bottom line outcome that is listed in the blue or the green.
yeah, and we'd say the blue is the most up to date. That last one, the April 16th, is the recommendation that we are making to the board. And if everything, if it's looking good, then we would just say equals to all of those things, and we'd be at the same totals as that last one.
And that's within your comfort level of saying that's a reasonable budget that we can live with.
Correct.
Jason, does that only apply to blue or green as well?
Sorry, one more time.
Is green a comfort level? It's not that much more than blue.
Well, the green doesn't have the COLAs matching there, so there's some differences there. I mean, if we were to add other things in there, so we'd want up in the 37 through 39 to match what's in the blue column in the green column also. But I think most of the green column is in the blue column, other than
PCBs,
BC
mechanics.
Mechanics, yeah. And when we went to the mechanics, when we had that discussion, said if there's more, then we want to do this. And then the BCBA's, we did, I don't know if I shared that with you, but what this is it's not increasing those, it's just moving them from kind of soft money to more ongoing. So it's something we could do, but it doesn't increase the number of BCBA's, it keeps them the same.
So all the blank places we see here are things that were not funded.
Exactly.
Correct.
It's a lot of blank places.
If something we've done in the past is if the board were to go through truth and taxation, there were additional revenues that were added later, then this would become the list that we go back to say, what of these can we prioritize?
And that's something that we did as part of the district budget committee meeting, that we gathered the information of things that would be a priority because the teams worked within a budget. I mean, they really tried to stay within it. But we had a section that said, if you had more money, what would you choose as a priority? So we do have that list also of other priorities.
In addition to this.
Yeah.
The other item, line 18, need to make note of. So that one was through Truth and Taxation with 45 more targeted FTEs on top of the 65 plus the 8 that we have for the comprehensive high school. Right now, with the allocations that have happened for FY '26, we still have, out of the 65, I think we still have, I have to look for sure, but I think there was like 18 left there, and then for the 45, we'd only used about 8 or 9, maybe 11.
So we
And
may
so
have some left over.
what we're recommending here, you can see along there, it was 5.6 million, taking it down to 2.49 to be able to provide a little bit more in COLAs. So it's taking that 45 down to 20, which we feel comfortable about. We discussed going down to 15, but left it at 20. So it's 20 additional on top of the 65 and the 8. So we feel we're in a good spot to be able to probably hand out those right at that 20 mark and not need any above that. Any other questions or comments?
So of the 65 and 8 and 20 on the FTEs, how many have not been allocated at this point?
Let me pull that up. All right, in the 65, there are still 14.7 remaining. Out of the 45 that now would be 20, there's 8.5 remaining.
With the legislative teacher pay raises, is there anybody that we haven't covered that we need to? We've got everybody covered?
Yeah.
Okay.
The OTPTs and the
That's
SLTs are the
everybody.
ones that we added last year because they weren't included in the first one. Because everybody that qualifies, we did the very first year, then they were in a similar, but for some reason the state didn't include us for whatever reason. So then we went through and said, yeah, it makes sense to be able to your peers that are similar. To
So
that.
those teacher pay raises actually net are a negative to us because we have to look at the difference.
So when they fund teachers, but they don't give it to administrators and other people, and we have to chip in for that, it actually costs us when they do the.
If we're trying to match that
Teachers.
same.
If we're trying to keep
but
everybody
just
on the same.
Just on those ones would be the only. I mean, if you're looking at the one where they said for the education support professionals where they said $1,000 one time, and then we have the few, but they say only those that are at schools or bus drivers, you know, they're looking at that. But then we want to say, well, we want the secretary at transportation to be also to receive that. Then there's the funding that we're requesting from district funds.
Any other questions or concerns?
So it just looks like facilities kind of got put on hold. Sorry about that.
Their big ask is in the capital budget.
So that,
That's where they were funded with their projects and things. These are positions or mileage and dollar amounts you can see aren't very large on those.
You feel comfortable pulling that column over to the orange column or?
I think that sounds like a great idea.
It's a quick way to do it, but you wanna make sure everybody's comfortable with it.
at this point, we don't want to upset the balance.
If you have questions that come up or recommendations that you'd like to see, send superintendent and myself an email. We'll talk to us and we can talk about it in DLT further and make that recommendation.
I think this just gives the direction to the budget team to say, this is what we're planning on for the end of May, finalize that, and then the board can make adjustments to that if they wanted to in that June
Right.
meeting.
So I see there's no more incentives, additional incentives for bus drivers or substitute teachers. Or rest.
Which one are you looking for, the substitutes?
That's on 42.
So the 42, but there was one, if you look, there's one up on 19. The sub-pay increase was increased $15 through your
Oh,
truth
yeah.
in taxation, $15 for this year, and it'll continue. It's not going to get taken away. This was just an additional ask that then wasn't recommended.
Okay, so it's not totally off the table.
But it stays the same rate as it is right now.
Correct.
So it's not an increase.
But the increase wasn't in the original budget last year because it went through truth and taxation. When it did, we increased, instead of waiting till FY26, we made it active for FY25 for that increase.
Something I wanted to mention also was when we receive requests, it's all through ASD forms. It's an online process. And part of that electronic form, there's a request for us to make sure to include next year for FY27 processes, say how many years has this budget been requested? And so we're gonna add that to the form for next year so that we have more data to go off to say, okay, how many times, because when you're saying that, it looks like it didn't get on. Well, they had the chance to keep putting it on, but now, next year, hopefully we'll have more data for you to say this is how many years it's been requested, so that should help also.
Okay, thank you for your time. Want to recognize Bea for her great work coming here. This is her second budget process, and she's just amazing at what she does and her leadership and helping with the team. So I want to thank her and congratulate her on this process.
Solid A for B.
We made it a whole 37 minutes.
I know, I was working on it, it just came out right, so. Okay, we will transition to Scott. Appreciate his work overseeing land trust funding, and good to you.
Great. Okay, each of you have received a folder. The folder is the physical copies of your land trust plans for the schools that you work with directly. I will be emailing you a digital copy of all the schools so you can peruse the other schools as well, so you can see what other plans are doing. These have been thoroughly reviewed by a number of people, and so if you look through these plans, just want to, on the inside of your packet, inside of your folder, there's a timeline. We are down towards the bottom in the March and April area. If you look at that, the Board of Education, that fourth bullet or fourth line on the March and April, Board of Education will review and approve plans by May 15th. These plans, just if you review them, if you have suggestions or changes, email me, and then I'll work with the supervisor in the school to make the changes in their plan. They could be anything, question marks. Also in your packet, you've got a list of, this is kind of a repeat from before, but a list of approval guidelines from the board, and also appropriate expenditures sheet so you can look at it and approve. If you don't, or see something in there that you're just like, hey, I'm not sure about it, email me, we can make the changes, and then we'll put it back in edit mode, the schools can fix, and then we'll show you the review. If you don't have any changes, that's a good thing. That means we've not been thorough with them. And we will look to our next board meeting on May 13th, where there will be, I believe there'll be an action item to say we approve those plans. And then once you approve them, I will go through one by one and hit approve and hit the date on them to submit them to the state. Do you have any questions about land trust plans or anything that's in your folder?
Can I ask you a question, Scott?
Sure.
I'm just curious. I went down a hole with like the report cards online, and I'm wondering, have we ever looked at data as far as any kind of correlation with schools and like whether it's their growth scores, their proficiency scores, and how they're utilizing land trust dollars? Like, have we ever looked at like, are there best practices for how those funds should be allocated?
I think the best practice comes in with a coherence map, and we've been looking at setting up those priorities. That to me is the best, where it was just kind of each school should go through the kind of that GAN model, the greatest area of need, and say what are the areas that we need to improve our school. And some of those have been a lot more targeted now because of the coherence map of the 3 priorities. I would say the bulk of our plans will address their priorities in their building. But as far as looking at their data and doing a comparative analysis, it's just so different from each school of what they're looking at. But I mean, it'd be fascinating to look and see when we do see some impacts that they've been using funding for that, and we've not done that piece.
I think there's so many other variables, it would be hard to isolate the land trust variable as the contributing factor to that. That would be a challenge, I think, because of other variables, other things that are impacting that. And they may, for instance, if they have a math initiative at the school, they're using TSSA funds or other things to support math or literacy and supplementing that with some land trust. It's hard to say that that portion of land trust that went to literacy was the determining factor for the increase in schools.
It's just interesting to me because I know like you can do comparisons between like sister schools, so you're not doing apples to oranges, you're doing apples to apples as much as possible. And I will say that like visiting Vic at Westmore last year and seeing what they're doing with their literacy aids, like particularly in kindergarten, where they've got that level of training and they provide time for them to set up and prepare, and like the level of integration at that level. I'm not saying that's the magic bullet, but it felt a little bit like it was the magic bullet. So I'm just wondering, like, but obviously, Vic has spent Title I dollars, trust lands, things like that. So I'm just wondering if there are ways in which, I'm not saying every school is going to do that, but if there are some things where we can say, hey, here's a highlight of how a school was successful, this is how they utilize funds, and if there are a couple of ways we could say, hey, for our Title I schools, we're seeing these are the top 3 things that are happening. I just don't know if data and evaluation has looked at that, and I'm not saying like it's going to be the same across the board, but it may be something where, whether that's in dual language immersion or high poverty or with multi-language learners, we might see some trends. And I'm just interested because we have so many schools and so many different demographics, it would be kind of interesting to see if there are trends that we're seeing that could potentially inform better practices, I guess.
Yeah, and I think there's where I think we could find some leverage to say, okay, these are high achieving schools. Of the variables that we look at, let's include trust lands and say, okay, what factor correlation is there between their trust land spending and being high achieving?
Yeah, and I think you'll, an agreement with that for sure, but I think you'll also see the schools where they were more individualized of what they were doing, and now they're becoming more united in how they do things. So one particular supervisor will look at all the schools in general and say, here's some positive things happening from this school. What are you considering with this as you have the same type of situation? So I think a lot of those conversations are happening, but to actually put it on paper to say this is happening or this has been a correlation of success, I think we could do some of that when we isolate some things, see how they're using.
Thanks. It would surprise me if that same question hasn't been asked on state level. So I just wonder if there's any input / guidance on state level.
I've not seen that from the state. I think that one of the focus, if I were to interpret what the focus is now to have specific goals to your school. I think we're really, we are really getting focused in targeted instruction or targeted use of funds. And our plans are starting to align a lot better. So our trust lands is similar to our TSSA, to our PTA. Like all of our school goals are now focused in one direction, and that's been one of our key areas. So our plans are really, I won't say they lack creativity because all schools can do it differently, but I think they're all working towards similar things, working towards improving learning in their school. And so
that may not be true in every district.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the other districts view it, but I know our focus has really been to target those 3 areas in the budgets now. Okay, and like I said, any changes or suggestions you have on the plans you see, let me know, and we'll make the schools aware to make the changes. Thank you.
So we need on that?
That's it.
Okay. The last item is the systematic performance audit of the Alpine School District. Most of you are aware, for the past 12 months now, 11 months or so, the Office of the Legislative Auditor General, OLAG, has been here in Alpine School District doing a systematic performance audit of us. It was a great experience. They were professional, transparent, thorough in what they did. and appreciate Dr. Perkins, who was the point person for Alpine School District on organizing that, but they reached out to schools, to supervisors, to employees across the district, looked at data, looked at our facilities, looked at policy. It was just a very thorough, I mean, they were here examining for nine months. Last week, we had the opportunity to see the finalized report and to respond to their presentation of the auditor's presentation of the report to the leadership of the House and the Senate and the committee that oversees audits, and it was favorably received. It was a very favorable audit. I appreciate Board President King being with me there. We responded to their questions. We have replied to their findings. So we thought it would be good for, because it was embargoed until right when we presented it, or it was presented to the leadership there, we thought it would be good to review that with the board and the public. I'll say a few comments and then turn over to Joel to go through the presentation that they actually gave to the House and Senate leadership, to the audit committee, and then make a few comments at the end on our perspective of it. But I really appreciated the fact that they highlighted some of the great things that are happening in Alpine. Appreciate opportunities to improve, areas that they made recommendations for, and I think this audit really is a tribute to the board and their priorities, and to the staff, teachers, support professionals, everyone in Alpine. It is probably, from my opinion, and I've heard this from several other people, the best audit that they have done of a school district to this point. I think, Julie, you heard comments about that from others that have reviewed audits, and it's a tribute to you as a board and to the district and the great work that people in Alpine School District do. So, Joel, we'll turn over to you. Thank you.
Perfect. So I reached out to the auditors. We've become good friends. That we interact a lot, and they shared with me the PowerPoint that they used when they presented to the committee, and so we're just going to walk through that with you. If you want the full report, this is an overview that I'm going to be sharing. The full report, we sent you an electronic link, but you should also have in your box 92 pages of fun. And for me, it's fun. This 92 pages is incredible. Having read all of the audits for the school systems that they have done in the last 4 years, I just want to echo what Superintendent said. This was exciting for us to see. We believe in continuous improvement in the PLC results cycle, and this felt to me as if this were an assessment, a spot check of our work. Where are we, and how can we improve and grow, and what are the good things that are happening? And we felt like there's a lot of really good things that came out of this audit. So let's just jump right in. They did an overview page, nothing surprising here. Number of students, schools, teachers. Don't get hung up on how many schools exactly. We have schools, we have programs, which. Don't worry about that. That's just an overview that they gave to the subcommittee.
It was discussed back and forth several times.
It was an ongoing discussion. It still might be a discussion, but we're going to move forward. The first finding that came out of the audit, which we were very pleased with, and again, testament to all of our amazing folks and the leadership here from the board. Alpine School District performs well and should continue to focus on low achieving groups. When they talk about in this chapter, some of the things that they highlighted is that Alpine School District has some of the highest district proficiency rates in the state, and that we were aligned with peer groups or peer school. In our peer group, we outperformed the other two schools that are close in size to us, or the other school districts. Thank you. So we outperformed both Davis and Jordan school districts in their findings from the proficiency rates in Alpine School District, which is exciting to see and very fun. You'll also notice on this, just so you can see one of their other points, is the state has set new proficiency rates, kind of the target or the bar. That's that dotted line, the orange dotted line that you see there. And while we're outperforming all of our peer groups, we're not yet reaching those the standard of the goals that Alpine School or that the state has set for us moving forward in the future. That's the new target, and we will continue to hopefully outperform other districts as we chase now that new target that they've set for us. But very exciting to see them recognizing the incredible work of our great folks. When they mention in here that achievement gaps exist in Alpine School District schools, they indicate in their report to the subcommittee that this is a follow-up topic that they have seen in other reports and audits that they have done. This is an ongoing, we all have students who are not achieving where we want them to be across the state. In our district, they found that we had schools with small gaps, and those gaps were narrowing, and we had some with larger gaps, and they certainly gave us the recommendation, one that we wholeheartedly agree with, that we should continue to assess the reasons for these gaps and target those. And that is what you'll see when you look at the coherence map and the work that we're doing with setting student group goals. That is what that is about. And so it's in complete alignment with where we're wanting to go. Yes, Ada?
So there's some, keeping the identity of the school shielded here, but do we get to know who A, B, C, and D are?
I have that information.
Okay.
We could probably talk after if we wanted. But yeah, and that's a great question, especially because those schools, A and B, for example, who are closing that gap, we want to learn from them so that we can help that be scaled across all the schools in the district. So for sure. Okay, the next chapter of the audit findings were that Alpine School District has schools that are implementing best practices. Specifically with this, they talk about the effectiveness of, in many aspects, one of the things that they highlighted was the effectiveness of our admin mentoring program. The new admin support network, I believe, is how it's been rebranded, right, Scott? They highlighted this. They indicated that they had seen in a school in Texas some great success from this type of program, and they indicated that in all the audits that they have done thus far, that we were the first example they had seen of a dedicated new administrator program to build the capacity of our administrators. And the recommendation was that we should continue to do the great things that we're doing, and that other districts could learn from what we're doing as well, which is obviously very exciting. When they talk about the best practices of the team, they talked about PLC work and the amazing work that our high-performing teachers and teams are doing. This is one of the points that they made, that many of our ASD teachers have successfully improved performance of low-achieving students. So this bubble graph, I believe that's what they call this, demonstrates how we have teachers who are moving students from lower performing areas to help them to become high achieving. And so that was pretty exciting for them to highlight the work that our teachers are doing in those amazing teacher teams. And throughout this process, they highlighted PLCs and the PLCs that are happening here, referencing not only the great work that they're seeing here, but the attitudes that our teacher teams have, that they see great value in meeting together and working as teams.
I think it's something that the board has mentioned, something that we've been intentionally focusing on, is teams learning from teams within the district and then outside the district, and the partnerships that we have. Scott and his team have been identifying those high-performing teams and then sharing that best practice. The audit team noted that and recommended it be continued because there are some, and I think that's in alignment with what the Senate President commented on as well. So we need to surface best practice and replicate that, scale that throughout the organization. Something that we intend to do, and the audit team recommended that we continue to do that.
And one of the great things that the audit team also indicated is that when they met with those teachers who were doing so well, they asked that in those interviews, the teachers indicated that a collaborative professional learning community team that prioritized student needs is extremely important and the secret to their success. So that was exciting to hear. The next chapter of the audit indicated that our strategic plan follows best practices and should be considered by other LEAs. They specifically explained to the subcommittee that our strategic plan is called the Coherence Map, and they showed on the screen the Coherence Map in all of its glory. Very exciting to see that they felt like our plan is in line with best practices, and that they felt like others could benefit from learning about what work we're doing as we prioritize the strategic plan and the really achievement for our students. This was some fun data to look at as we talk about the coherence map. One of the things that they did is, and as they surveyed our folks to find out about strategic planning, for example, 96% of our school administrators knew about the strategic plan. They knew what the coherence map they knew what the coherence map is and how it guides their school practice, which is great. Makes me wonder about those 4, where they've been hiding, but 96% is pretty awesome.
We have identified those.
They missed K-12, excused.
The other thing you look at is you look at faculty and staff. 57% of our school faculty and staffs indicate they know what the strategic plan is and how it guides, and believe that it guides district or school decisions. When you start to think, of course 57 is not as good as 96, but then you start to consider this includes all faculty and staff. Custodians, yeah, nutrition services, and so we were happy about that 57%, but also indicates a path in which we can continue to help people to understand and connect the work that they're doing to the overall work.
And I really think the initiative, the genesis, the focus of that strategic plan was to build capacity in administrators. So to have that high of a level of school level awareness of it was a bonus, because that was not the targeted audience for the coherence map and the strategic plan. It was really building coherence among our administrators with the idea that the next iteration of that would take that to the school level classroom impact. So to see that already was remarkable.
Very good. Okay, here they started to align best practices from a best practice handbook, that research that they use when they look at strategic planning, and they just did a comparison to our work and where we are and how we have the elements in place. They do recommend that we continue to bolster these components at the district level as well. They feel like we're doing the work really well at the school level, but maybe some of the elements of the strategic plan haven't been developed as fully as they could at the district level, which is something that we acknowledge and are working towards. And it was intentionally done because we wanted to have it working at the level where the kids are initially, right? That's been the big focus. So great finding there.
One more comment on that.
Yeah, please.
I think as board, as we look at new districts coming into play in the next couple of years, I think a finding from the research that we have seen evidenced in our work is getting significant touch points around clarity in the vision. Our supervisors, elementary and secondary, our curriculum people, going out and meeting with schools on a regular basis, having the dialogue with them. Where are you at with your goals? Being loose upon, we'll meet you where you're at, but we'll continue to help you improve. It's a tribute to the supervisors, to curriculum individuals who just made that part of their routine, to the learning leader team that was always on the agenda. So I think once you have a compelling vision, the aspiration is there, you just need to amplify it. And that's what the teams did to make it so we're getting 96% awareness. The other thing, that it does guide what we do at the school and our improvement efforts at the school. That was also very high. I think going into new districts, that as you develop, as strategic plans and visions are developed, make sure that you build in systems, processes to operationalize that, to get the discussion going of that. That to me is what turns the momentum of, and why we had such high levels of engagement and support, because of the supervisors, curriculum, the leading learning team, making this just part of our walk and talk on a regular basis, with enough flexibility to allow school adaptation. It wasn't so tight that they couldn't. We always talk about the banks of the river, shape the banks, but they control the flow of the river, and it was that good combination of loose tight.
Perfect. See, isn't this fun? This is great stuff. Okay, the fourth chapter of the audit indicated that Alpine School District has adequate internal controls, but some can improve. And then they specifically talked about some of these elements. We have some elementary schools that have incomplete fencing because they are on property that is shared municipality. We have 5 schools where we have open sections of the school property that are right next to school parks, and there needs to be some cooperation as we work to remedy those situations, secure those properties. They also indicated that we need to improve our bullying policy, which we're aware of, and it's in process, but we are working to bring that into alignment. While the thing I love here, and I just have to say that they indicated that our practice is in alignment with state statute, but we need to bring our policy into practice. So that was good, and certainly something the policy committee will be working on. And they also indicated another location, one of our locations where additional school signage would be helpful in indicating that this is a school zone. And so that is already in works as well. The last chapter that they had in the audit finding was specific to administrative costs. And in this chapter, they did review our superintendent's salary and where that falls, indicating this is the 7th highest superintendent salary, while we're the largest school district, which I thought was fun for them to point out. Also helpful here is they indicated that we have the 3rd largest per pupil cost for district administration. Or sorry, I apologize. I just said that backwards. 3rd lowest when you divide it by the per pupil rate. Any questions about any of that? Okay, and then really they use our audit as a platform to say there's a couple of things that they need to financially work out. While it's consistently reported in Alpine School District, they found that other school districts are not as consistent in reporting those salaries in the 2 different locations where they have to indicate between OSA and USB. Okay, that in a nutshell is the summary of the audit. Now in the 92 pages, the last, I believe 7 or 8, if you go to the very, very back, you can see the 13 recommendations that they gave Alpine School District, or well, technically 2 went to USPE. But you can see those recommendations. You can see our individual response to each recommendation, what the next steps will be for each of those recommendations, and then who the point people are to make sure that we are in compliance with the audit findings. But I don't need to go into all that detail. You have it right there as you go through those 92 pages of joy. Any questions?
We want to talk about next step, and we're close to being done with this relationship. This relationship will last forever because we're so connected to
We are good friends now. That's correct.
We do have one more opportunity to respond.
We will be going to the education subcommittee. We believe that's going to be June 15th, right? Again, the audit team will present their findings, and there will be follow-up questions from the education subcommittee with regards to the audit and the steps that we're taking, and hopefully more great opportunity for President King and Superintendent Farnsworth to share and answer questions and really demonstrate the amazing work that's happening here in Alpine School District. Thanks to your leadership, to the leadership team, and all of the amazing people. I mean, for me, this is a gratitude moment as you look at it and you see the tremendous findings here that really validate the incredible work of our awesome people. So I'm thrilled. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys can hear me or not.
I didn't see your hand raised. I apologize.
You're fine. I was wondering, from the auditor's perspective, did they share with you any key risks that maybe as a board we should be monitoring as the district transitions into 3? Or did they uncover maybe any vulnerabilities or inconsistencies that could, complicate our district split?
They did not highlight anything that I would say would be risks or complications. They did indicate in multiple times throughout the report, in the full report, that this is a practice that really should continue, that each district should, for example, the work with PLC teams or the new administrator support network, some of those things that are yielding great results. They indicated as we go through this transition, each of the new districts needs to ensure that focus continues, because these are best practices in the strategic planning as well. They talked about that. These are best practices that we saw in Alpine School District that each of the new districts should make sure in some version or another that they continue.
And the last question I had, and Mark can kind of maybe pipe in a little bit here, but as we were meeting as a board of directors for the USBA, and we were talking about the auditors coming in, I think we were down the list, right, Mark? I mean, they did like 8 or 9 before us. But my question is, and some of those schools didn't have as a pleasant experience, and I was so happy to read the report that it was positive. Did they supply us with or ask us for an exit survey for them as they were leaving, maybe giving them feedback? Or just curious of, you know, their practices, because it wasn't too positive for some of those earlier ones, and I'm so happy it was with our district.
Yeah, we did not do an official survey. We did have follow-up conversation with the team at multiple times as we were ending and discussing the experience, how it went, what things we felt were positives, any suggestions we had for the future as they interacted. But to be honest with you, our relationship was so positive with this group that I don't feel like we ever had a situation where there wasn't a negative taint on any of the relationship.
Yeah, Board Member Beeson, I believe we were aware of those concerns. That those have been surfaced in the state superintendent meetings. We had read the previous reports, and there was just a very open, honest conversation at first that we're aware of your reputation and what has gone on, and we don't believe that needs to be the case here. We want to learn from this experience. We want to be open and transparent with you. We want it to be a positive experience. We won't, no surprises. Let's be, as we discover things, let's have conversation about it. We won't hide anything from you. You don't hide anything from us, and let's just have regular meetings. Joel facilitated that very well, and we just kept working through it and developing that relationship of trust, openness, and honesty and candor along the way, and it just resulted in I think a positive outcome for them. They asked that because this was a positive outcome that we, in meetings, future meetings, share that is something that can be achieved, and it was achieved by us. I have shared that with other superintendents, and in my letter response to the Auditor General, I indicate just our appreciation for the way the audit team handled that and our gratitude for the findings that they came. So that was kind of my, we just went in cards face up and addressed the elephant in the room and had a great experience.
By the way, if you have suggestions for them for future audits, I meet with them very regularly, so I'd be happy to pass those on. In the past, some of the things you've kind of mentioned that have been problematic are the report is a surprise, right? And they're looking to witch hunt. I mean, they're looking for, just looking for gotchas, you know what I mean? And so I'm really happy to see that we didn't see much of that in this audit. So
We didn't see any of that.
And when they shared, you've got some low performing, we are well aware of that. As part of our strategic plan, every school needs to set a goal. So we acknowledge the challenges that we had, and I think they felt trust that.
I think the other thing that I've talked to them a lot about is they always see these low performing students and high performing students, and they're like, there's something wrong with your district. You should be able to bring those low performing students in. But I've shared that that's what everyone is trying to do, you know what I mean? It's a heavy lift, and we're doing our best. And so you can't say just because there's a difference between low performing and high performing, that there's a problem with the school. It's a hard problem. They're working on it, and I think that has been helpful because I didn't see many of those statistics in this report. So.
And I thought they did a great job putting us in context of other like districts and how we compare to say this isn't an isolated problem in Alpine School District. This is a challenge that public education faces. So they were, again, publicly I would say they were exceptional to work with, very professional, very open, very transparent, and my comments to my colleagues have been as such, that this is not something to be feared, it's something to be welcomed. They are a strategic partner with you to help you improve.
I'm just noticing on page 75 of the booklet that they do acknowledge that we are splitting into 3, and they give us the data, the achievement data for each of the 3 areas and kind of what the challenges we face.
Absolutely.
Just one last comment. I thought on page 20, it gives the responses from teachers on PLC teams. I thought this was maybe the most important thing in the whole audit, because it's incredible that 90% of our teachers feel like that we have effective PLC teams, and that student data guides instruction. To say 90% feel like student data guides instruction is like incredible. And I can remember when we first started PLCs, more than half the students thought teachers thought it was stupid and like a waste of their time. And for 90% to feel it was either they agreed that it was very important or strongly agreed, that is like a big accomplishment. And I would say that maybe if districts moving forward, if they could say, if we can keep those PLCs going, that may be the most effective thing we can do.
Yeah. And I thank you, Mark, for highlighting that. I think really it is a celebration of professional learning community work and what collaboration, data-driven decision-making can do for a district to put you on that achievement heading northeast and now. And I think, as you mentioned, some great momentum to continue to harness going into those new districts.
I think they also provide the survey that they took at the back, which is helpful.
Yep, lots of great stuff. I told you, 92 pages of fun.
Joy.
Joy, that's right. I think it's worth noting, and I don't know if I said this or not, but of the recommendations, the 13 recommendations, we agree with the recommendations. The recommendations that they have are in alignment with where we're going as a district, where the coherence map is taking us, and the work that we believe in. And so we are very happy.
Any further questions, comments on it?
I know that it's always, you're not sure what you're gonna expect, but I appreciate you enjoy being up there and answering questions and doing it with grace and professionalism, so thank you.
They have one more version that's just as good. Thank you for the board. Thank you for your priorities on student learning, on teacher capacity. That matters, and you see it reflected in a very positive audit. So. Okay, President King, that is all we have.
Okay, so we will end the meeting, and reminder that we have our first public hearing at 6 o'clock today.
Give me a. They're muted on the console. They shouldn't be. Yeah. We've been working all night. I haven't yet. Yeah, but on your console, you see that.
Okay, we're gonna try this out. Oh, look!
Yeah.
You see
I think that's a
it?
different mic.
Okay.
That's it. We've been running over.
It is, I think 6:01, 6:02-ish.
You see that?
6:02, we will now hold a public hearing to receive input from the public with respect to the proposed issuance by the local building authority of the district regarding lease revenue bonds. Any person wishing to express his or her views on the issuance of the bonds or the facilities to be financed with the bonds can come forward now. We do have a sign-up sheet regarding this, and I believe that we have 3 people who have signed up to comment. The first individual will be John Gadd, the second individual is Eden Davenport, and the third individual is Molly Barrington. It is on now.
Good evening, my name is John Gadd. I bought my home in Pleasant Grove 25 years ago, which means I've been paying property taxes to Alpine School District for 25 years. I'm here to speak against the lease revenue bond for $238 million for a single high school and a single elementary school. This will be the 12th time that we voted to raise our property taxes. 7 years. That's 6 bonds.
Rate increases. Now, in the August-October timeframe this last year, you had a truth in taxation hearing where you raised our property tax rates. And in that time frame, you were talking about that, sometime in March, we're going to do a lease revenue bond for about $86 million. That should be enough to get us over the hump to finish this new $175 million high school. Well, you've now tripled that from $86 million to $238 million. Now, I came to a meeting a few weeks ago and asked you why you did that, and your answer was, well, now we can. SB 88 takes the $200 million cap off, we can do that. So in essence, you're saying, because we can now get away with it, we're going to do it. You didn't say we need the money, because you don't. You don't need this money for one high school and one elementary school, but you're tripling it just because you can get away with it, which is a really horrible reason to take out debt for the next 31 years, debt that I'm going to be paying, and kids who aren't even born yet are going to be paying property taxes on this debt that you're going to decide on tonight. Now, I understand that SB 188, which some of you lobbied really heavily for, maybe requires you to do a lease revenue bond, but it doesn't say when you have to do it, and it doesn't say how much it has to be. So your choice is to do it 2.5 years before the district splits, so we all get to pay for it for 2.5 years, and your choice is to triple the amount that you actually maybe need, probably don't even need that much, but you're tripling it because you can. This hurts the taxpayers in the district. This hurts seniors who live on fixed incomes. This hurts people who are disabled, who live on disability income. This hurts the moms and dads of the kids that you guys care about so much that you're educating, because they can barely afford their houses now. How are they going to afford it when you jack up their taxes with this new bond? This hurts the teachers and the lunch ladies and the janitors and all the staff that you employ, because they can barely afford their houses right now. And how are they going to afford them when you jack up their taxes again 12 times in 7 years? You guys are taxing us to death. It seems like you never saw a tax increase that you weren't all for. You waste so much money on so many different things, and this bond really is not necessary. So please don't issue this bond. Please tap the brakes on this. Wait. Decrease the amount, and wait until the last possible minute so that it's not being spread across the central and south districts to pay for this bond. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eden Davenport, and I'm a resident of Saratoga Springs, and I'm a mother of 4 children in the Alpine School District. My sophomore attends Westlake High School. I have also been out to Desert Sky, and I can tell you that this bond is desperately needed, and I'm speaking in favor of this bond. As someone who works with youth in our community, I have seen firsthand the negative implications that overcrowded schools have. I've seen the difficulties that some of our children face making social connections because our schools are beyond max capacity. This bond is needed, and it is needed now. I am grateful for the support of the Utah State Legislature in passing SB 188 and for the actions of this board to help reduce some of the educational disparities that exist within the district. I appreciate your vote of support for this bond. Thank you.
Hi there, Molly Barrington. Just wanted to say thank you for putting this bond forward. And as I have been out working in the schools as a substitute and also working with my nieces and nephews that are out this way, this is so needed and it so needs to happen yesterday. And so I'm so grateful that it is and that it can work towards having our kids have a place where they can truly learn rather than being wall to wall and not having the places and the equipment that they need to learn. So I truly appreciate this and I thank you and I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
At 6:08, I think. Public hearing is now closed. Our next session starts at 6:15, so we're gonna saunter until 6:15.
Is 6:16, and we're going to call this meeting to order. We're going to start off by having our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Cammie Harper, and then our inspirational thought or reflection will be offered by Michelle Sorensen.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. I'm here with Region 9 PTA tonight, and we have a little special section tonight where we get to honor our Utah State PTA Award winners. My inspirational thought comes from the Maori culture. The children in New Zealand are taught this proverb: I come not with my own strengths, but bring with me the gifts, talents, and strengths of my family, tribe, and ancestors. This reminds us all that our children are shaped and strengthened by those who came before us and those who walk beside them. In Alpine School District, we see that spirit come to life every day. During Volunteer Month, we especially celebrate the over 10,000 Region 9 PTA volunteers who form a tribe of dedication and heart across our schools. Their time, talents, and tireless efforts reflect the best of us in our communities, and they are united in a commitment to help every child succeed and thrive. Together, as families, educators, leaders, and volunteers, we strive for excellence that provides the opportunity for every student to be successful. Thank you.
PTA is such an important partner in helping us meet our mission in Alpine School District. Each year, the state recognizes outstanding individual contributions to our parent-teacher organizations. We invite Kim Topham, Michelle Sorensen, and Courtney Holmes, our Region PTA 9 leaders, to present the annual award winners.
My name is Kim Topham. I've had the honor this year of representing Region 9 as its director, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to quickly thank Superintendent Farnsworth and Eric Woodhouse and the board for the particularly strong relationship that exists between parents and educators in this district. We know that that is a choice that you make to foster that culture of collaboration, and we look forward to finding more ways to further that. So thank you for having us tonight. It's my opportunity to introduce Courtney Holmes. Courtney is not only the state awards specialist for the state of Utah, but we are lucky to have her as our awards specialist in our region, and she will be announcing these individuals tonight.
Thank you, Kim. I am going to say this is the most exciting part of the evening, so you guys are welcome. So happy to be here and acknowledge our winners. And Dr. Farnsworth, I am going to stay on script starting right now. Good evening. Utah PTA sponsors an award competition each year to highlight the efforts of excellent administrators, teachers, staff, and volunteers across our state. We are delighted to have 7 state award winners from Region 9 Alpine School District this year. It's my pleasure to recognize these remarkable people who are making a meaningful difference in our schools and with our students. Well written, ladies. Let's start out with Todd Dawson from Lone Peak High School. He won the Outstanding Administrator Award. Todd Dawson's leadership at Lone Peak High is rooted in a forward-thinking vision. He consistently seeks ways to improve the school and enhance the learning experiences for his students. When it comes to leadership that inspires, Principal Todd Dawson exemplifies excellence. His dedication to Lone Peak High School has profoundly impacted students, parents, and faculty alike. With unwavering enthusiasm and a genuine commitment to fostering community, Mr. Dawson embodies what it means to be a transformational leader in education. And for the sake of time, I'll ask that we hold our applause to the very, very end, and then we're going to give the most massive applause we've ever heard. Our next is an outstanding elementary educator by the name of Kirsten Bybee from Linden Elementary School. We welcome you up, Kirsten. Kirsten Bybee is passionate about fourth grade subject material and genuinely cares about her students' success. Her enthusiasm is contagious, inspiring students to be enthusiastic learners themselves. Kirsten has also created a powerful classroom culture based on principles of good character and good citizenship. Turn the page. She teaches her students that they are all a team who works together. She inspires students to believe in themselves and their abilities. She helps students discover their interests and passions. She motivates them to pursue their goals and their dreams. Kirsten has also taken her mastery of teaching remedial math to an even higher level with her early morning math sessions. Kirsten welcomes students not just from her own class, but from any 4th through 6th grade class into her classroom each morning. Kirsten takes the students who most teachers cannot handle because of behavioral issues and turns them into students who are excited to learn and come back the next day. Our next up is Paul Andrus. He is from Oak Canyon Junior High, and he has earned the Outstanding Secondary Education Award. At every level, we seek ways to help reach the children in our school or community with all of their various needs. Mr. Andrus has been an example of that at Oak Canyon Junior High with the introduction of his new sports literature class. He started the class as a way to help students who may have previously struggled in this subject to find a connection that works for them. Parents and students alike see that Mr. Andrus is setting these kids up for a lifetime of learning and growth. Our next up is Eric Schultz from Timpanogos High. Is there anybody here from Timpanogos representing Eric Schultz? Okay, he couldn't be here today, but we'll just really quickly let you know about this amazing man. He won the Engagement Award. He saw the underutilized school website and social media as an opportunity. He set up a 5-year plan for increasing community engagement, partnering with a web design company started by a Timpanogos alumni. His plan included teaching the students to design, write, and publish content. 2 years into his plan, the engagement on the website and social media channels has increased exponentially. This has a profound impact on the culture and engagement at the school, as well as teaching valuable skills to students involved in Mr. Schultz's program. Our next up is Mountain View High's Keaton Wynn. He won the Inclusivity Award. He embodies the spirit of inclusivity for his outstanding efforts to foster inclusivity, celebrate diversity, and create meaningful cultural connections within the school community. As a Spanish teacher and the advisor for the Latinos in Action program, Keaton has played a pivotal role in bringing 2 languages and cultures, making him a key advocate for inclusivity at Mount View. He has empowered students to embrace their cultural identities and become leaders within their school. You guys are doing so good. Okay, next up we have Allison Madsen from Westmore Elementary. Allison has earned the Development Award. She has been key in starting the Winter Break Meals Initiative at Westmore Elementary. Operating in a community where approximately 70% of students qualify for free and reduced meals, the Winter Break Meals Initiative is more than just a food distribution program. It is a lifeline for families during the extended winter break. Through this program, Westmore Elementary demonstrates its role as a true community school dedicated to addressing all aspects of student learning and well-being. And finally, we have Adonna Smith at Mount Mahogany Elementary. She won the Spirit of PTA Award. Her involvement with the PTA over the years has spanned many roles, from carnival organizer, fundraising chair, communications designer, treasurer, and her current role as Mount Mahogany Elementary PTA president. In every role she takes on, Adonna demonstrates an unwavering commitment to the success of our students, teachers, and the entire school community. She is always willing to lend a hand, share her expertise, and give her time to ensure that every PTA event is a success. Thank you so much to each one of you, and I am so proud to present to our distinguished board you and your amazing contributions. Let's give them a big old round of applause. Okay. And could we have our principals and PTA presidents stand up so that we can give you a hand as well, principals and PTA presidents? Come on up for a picture. Let's get you in a picture. Principals and PTA presidents, come on up. We'll take a quick picture. Sorry, winners, will you please come shake hands with the board? Forgot to announce that. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody who is here for recognitions. It's totally appropriate if you want to leave now. That was the most exciting part of the meeting. That was legit. It is now time for community comments. We now have up to 30 minutes set aside for public comment. This opportunity is allocated for patrons living within the Alpine School District boundary. A sign-up sheet was available prior to this meeting, allowing up to 10 patrons the opportunity to speak. Those living outside of ASD and those who were unable to sign up before. Is the thing out again? Oh my gosh. I can use my t-shirt. Okay. Okay, this is awkward. Those living outside of ASD and those who were unable to sign up before all slots were full can submit written comments at alpineschools.org/schoolboard. Scanning the QR code in the lobby will also direct you to the form. As you are called up, please introduce yourself by stating your name. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. While the board does not engage in a discussion during the public comment period, they may arrange for a staff member to communicate with you later. Personnel issues are not appropriate discussion items for an open meeting environment. If you have a personnel concern, please contact a member of administration or put your concerns in writing and address it to the Board of Education. We have one individual who has signed up for public comment, John Gadd.
Good evening. My name is John Gadd. I live in Pleasant Grove. Tonight I want to talk about a DEI scholarship that Alpine School District's been offering since 2020. It's been offering this in connection with the Alpine School District Foundation, which Alpine School District controls. And it openly discriminates against straight, white, and Asian students, which violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, violates various titles of the Civil Rights Act, and violates Utah's 2024 law banning DEI in public education. Well, how do we know this scholarship is discriminatory? Because right on the website, at different times, it said preference may be given to students from underrepresented populations, including LGBTQ+, Black, African American, Hispanic, Native, or Indigenous Polynesian Pacific Islander. By stating that a preference may be given to students of most major races besides white and Asian, it is clear that white and Asian students will be discriminated against in the awarding of the scholarship. And by listing a preference will be given to LGBTQ+ students, it is clear that straight students will be discriminated against in the awarding of the scholarship. Where did the scholarship come from? Although the district tried to keep it a secret, in response to a public records request, I have the original a contract between the secret donor, who's listed on the contract as Julie King, donor, Alpine School District board member, and ASD. That's right, the current president of the school board is the secret donor behind this discriminatory scholarship. But it is also clear that the funding for the administration of this scholarship comes from taxpayer money paid to ASD, your dollars and my dollars. So what's the big deal? Didn't ASD stop offering this discriminatory scholarship a few weeks ago? Yes, the website is now down, but it is clear that this discriminatory scholarship is not going away. Again, in response to a public records request, I have a text conversation between the secret donor, presumably board president Julie King, and Alpine School District. In this text conversation on February 25th, 2025, the secret donor, again, presumably Julie King, instructs ASD as follows. Yank the scholarship, quote, yank the scholarship for this year, rename it aspiring, and get rid of the inclusive, unquote. Because there is no mention in this text that of removing the discriminatory aspects of the scholarship, it is clear from this text conversation that the plan is to yank the scholarship for this year, but offer the same discriminatory scholarship next year, but disguise it as not being discriminatory by dropping the word inclusive from the title of the scholarship. Shame on this school board for offering a discriminatory scholarship that discriminates against students based on the color of their skin and based on being straight. The only race that this school board should be concerned with is the human race, and it should treat every single student in this school district equally, as required by the U.S. Constitution.
Point of order.
By having this discriminatory scholarship, it's my turn. By having this discriminatory scholarship, you're setting a horrible example for the students in your district, and you're discriminating in a horrible way. I encourage you to back next year as you promised to do. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, approval of minutes. Dr. Farnsworth.
Yes, you've received your minutes, and we recommend that they be approved.
So I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Wilson and a second by Board Member Peterson. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. And that passes unanimously. Dr. Farnsworth.
Yes, you've received your claims for the month, and I recommend you accept the claims.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the claims.
Second the motion.
Okay, with a motion by Board Member Bateman and a second by Board Member Clement, do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next routine business, Superintendent.
Yes, you've received the routine business, which includes a budget summary, Alpine Foundation board summary, personnel hiring releases, school land trust amendments, and the Elevate plan from Mountain View High School. I recommend that you approve the routine business.
I motion we approve the routine business.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Peterson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Board Member Wilson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Action items, Superintendent.
Thank you, President King. We'll begin with the first two items. They are, we'll invite Eric Woodhouse to come forward to answer any questions that he has. We can move the mic over to the table. Derek Farnes as well. Both of them work on our operations team. We have two areas that we would like to publicly declare our intention to adjust some boundaries. The first action item is to initiate the communication to patrons regarding our intent to change the middle and high school boundaries for the wildflower development in Saratoga Springs. And we recommend that the board give approval to the staff to begin that process.
Any questions?
I don't think so. So basically, just to clarify for the public, this is not us declaring what the boundaries will be. We are saying we are opening a boundary study. We will hold the required public hearings at the district office. So this is basically just starting the timeline, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So do we have a motion to initiate the communication of intent to change the middle and high school boundaries for the wildflower development in Saratoga Springs?
I move to initiate the communications and intent to change the middle school and high school boundaries for the wildflower development in Saratoga Springs.
Do we have a second? Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Lincoln and a second by Board Member Bateman. Any discussion?
I just want to say that I appreciate being proactive and looking at areas in high growth and making boundary changes for the most part before students are in seats so that we can accommodate them without having to transition them through multiple schools.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, seeing none, that passes unanimously.
Okay, Eric, stay seated. We have one more action item that involves you. Our next.
I just knew Derek was going to handle it. So.
Okay. Our next action item is the Inverness development in Lehigh. We want to also begin the process of changing those boundaries. So our action item is to initiate the communication of intent to change the school boundaries for the Inverness development in Lehigh. We recommend your approval of that action item.
I move that we initiate the communication of intent to change the school board boundaries for the Inverness development in Lehigh.
Second the motion.
So for the public, this only affects the areas of Inverness that do not currently have students and houses. Those in the development that are already in Belmont will remain in that boundary.
And I'd just like to make a side comment that these are not the only areas in the district that are growing. My area also has a very active growth area in the city of Vineyard. And I just wanted to acknowledge that we are aware of the pressures that are on Trailside and Vineyard Elementaries, but we have made the determination that we do not want to move students multiple times, and the potential exists that that would happen if we made an adjustment now. So we are making physical facilities adjustments rather than a boundary change. So anyway, that's something I'd like the public to be aware of.
Thank you, Board Member Wilson. In conjunction with that, I think we should clarify that we do not anticipate if boundary changes are made in these two areas, it would trigger another boundary change after the reconfiguration. We believe these will hold still through that reconfiguration process.
Do I need to restate my motion, or are we clear on what we're voting on right now?
I actually had a point of clarification I wanted to ask. When we are saying to change school boundaries, are we discussing all three levels, elementary and middle school and secondary?
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Bateman and a second by Board Member Clement to initiate the communication of intent to change the school boundaries for the Inverness development in Lehigh. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Sorry, I was waiting for the lag for Sarah and then.
Sorry, I did, and it didn't didn't unmute. Sorry, aye.
Thanks, Sarah. Also, before we go into the next action item, Superintendent, there is also a sign-up sheet if you want to comment about the lease revenue bond in the ASD board meeting versus. Nope, I said that wrong. Did I say that wrong? If you want to comment about the lease revenue bond, there's an additional sign-up that Dr. Perkins has. See Dr. Perkins with his lovely clipboard. If you want an opportunity to sign up, now is your time to do that. Okay, sorry, just had to insert that because I forgot that earlier. Action item number 3, Dr. Farnsworth.
Yes, we have resolution 2025-002-1. This is an amendment to our previous resolution, the resolution 2025-002. The land that we need to purchase for the elementary school has expanded due to some consideration of roads and infrastructure. So we're bringing this resolution back to the board, recommending your approval of the expansion of the number of acres in that purchase.
Thank you, Dr. Farnsworth. Okay, so do we have a motion regarding Resolution 2025-002-1?
I move that we approve Resolution 002, amending Resolution 2025-002, the purchase of 13.29 acres in Eagle Mountain.
And I will second that motion. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of Resolution 2025-002-1, amending Resolution 2025-002, the purchase of 13.29 acres in Eagle Mountain, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that appears to pass unanimously. Dr. Farnsworth.
Yes, action item number 4 is Resolution 2025-007. It's amending of the Resolution 2-23-007. That is the purchase of 70.15 acres in Saratoga Springs. A similar situation as we have finalized that piece, taking into account the infrastructure, the needs for roads. That's an expansion of that acreage for the high school site. And we recommend your approval of that resolution.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I move that we adopt Resolution 2025-007, amending Resolution 2023-007, purchase of 70.15 acres in Saratoga Springs.
Okay, and I will second the motion. Any discussion?
I just want to bring up that these are long-time budgeted items. They've been planned and on our budget item for a long time, and we are just finally acting upon that.
Just make a comment for the public. As we develop a school in a new area that does not have roads, again, we end up having to allocate part of the acreage for our purchase for roads and for mitigation of slope on that site. And so as you get the site plan that is more refined and ready to start on building, then you sometimes need to adjust the amount of acreage that's needed so you can account for those roads and trails and the grade in the property. So that's kind of the reason for these things.
Okay, so with a motion by, oh, sorry.
So one
Jason.
thing on this, just so we have it right, the resolution is 2025-007, but the old one was 17, so 2023-17. So that was done in like October of 2023.
Board Member Lincoln, do we need to restate that, or do you feel like you can accept that change?
I can accept that change.
Okay, and I was the second, so I'll accept the change as well. Okay, so the motion is to pass Resolution 2025-007, amending Resolution 2023-017, the purchase of 70.15 acres in Saratoga Springs. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Dr. Farnsworth.
Yes, the last action item here is Resolution 2025-008. Consider a resolution authorizing the issuance of lease revenue bonds by the local building authority of the district, and we recommend that you adopt that resolution.
Okay, so we will consider a resolution authorizing the issuance of lease revenue bonds by the local building authority of the district.
I move that we accept Resolution 2025-008, authorizing the issuance of lease revenue bonds by the local building authority of the district.
Does it matter if we say adopt or accept?
I move that we adopt Resolution 2025-008, authoring the issuance of the lease revenue bond by the local building authority of the district.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Lincoln and a second by Board Member Bateman. Any discussion? Okay, oh, sorry.
I just want to point out that the nature of a lease revenue bond is that it is because of the financial health and strength of the entity. It is like a self-bond, meaning that we're not raising taxes with this LRB bond. And in addition, the prior discussions of the LRB were a different configuration of financing these two schools. The amount needed to build these schools never changed. It's just the how it's funded that has changed.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Lincoln and a second by Board Member Bateman. All in favor of adopting the resolution authorizing the issuance of leased revenue bonds by the local building authority of the district, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Okay, so we now need to convene as the Board of Trustees. Am I doing this right? No, we have to adjourn. Okay, so we now need to adjourn to the local building authority.
I move that we adjourn to form our local building authority.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Wilson and a second by Board Member Clement. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Okay, so we now need to open the public hearing. This is super confusing, so if you guys are confused, same. So, okay, so now we have to move into a public hearing. So we will now hold a public hearing to receive input from the public with respect, am I good, okay? To the proposed issuance by the local building authority of the district of leased revenue bonds. Any person wishing to express his or her views on the issuance of the bonds or the facilities to be financed with the bonds can come forward now. Did we have anyone sign up, Dr. Perkins? Okay. The public hearing is now closed. Wait a second. We have to do the action item first, right? The hearing can close. Sorry. Okay, so now we're going to consider a resolution authorizing the issuance of leased revenue bonds by the authority. Do we have a motion?
I move to accept the LBA Resolution 2025-001, consideration of a resolution authorizing the issuance of leased revenue bonds by the authority.
Are you okay if we say adopt?
I did say adopt?
To accept.
I'm sorry. Let me try again. I move that we adopt the LBA Resolution 2025-001, consider a resolution authorizing the issuance of leased revenue bonds by the authority.
Do we have a second? Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Lincoln and a second by Board Member Bateman. Any discussion? Okay. Oh, sorry.
I just want to say I both adopt and accept, and I think it's a great idea.
There are attorneys paying attention. Okay, so we have a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the issuance of leased revenue bonds. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Now we need to reconvene as the Board of We have to adjourn to reconvene the ASD board meeting. So.
I move that we adjourn from the local building authority and reconvene as the ASD board meeting.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Clement and a second by Board Member Bateman. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. And now we're back to our regularly scheduled program. Ooh, that was rough. Okay. We did. Okay, so next up, we have our discussion action items. Superintendent Farnsworth.
Thank you. We will invite our legal counsel to come forward. We have two policies that we want to discuss, and if the board feels comfortable with that discussion, ready to move forward, we would recommend that we approve those changes in policy. The first one is policy 4108, salary supplement for highly needed educators. Appreciate our Chief Legal Counsel, Craig Brinkerhoff, and his work with Policy Committee.
Thank you, Superintendent. This is a new policy. It was enacted through legislation about a year ago, and it basically allows for salary supplements to highly needed educators in specific areas of education that are either hard to find or hard to hire, where there's a need, basically. And this policy goes through and talks about who those educators are, what subjects they're covering and teaching in, and also a little bit about the process of how they would qualify for that salary supplement.
Okay, so this is a discussion action item. We can choose to discuss, or if someone wants to make a motion, we can take action on this tonight.
Any discussion, so I'm going to move to adopt policy 4108, the salary supplement for highly needed educators, or SHINE.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Lincoln and a second by Board Member Wilson. Any discussion?
Yeah, this policy is based off of some good legislation, and this is a great policy. I like the ability to make adjustments at a local level, so I recommend everybody approving it.
Okay, so with a motion by Board Member Lincoln and a second by Board Member Wilson, all in favor of approving policy 4108, salary supplement for highly needed educators, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, that passes unanimously. Superintendent Farnsworth.
Thank you. Next policy is policy 4285, dues deduction. And we recommend, as the board is comfortable, that we retire that policy from our set of policies. Council.
Yeah, just to clarify a little bit about this policy, you saw it last board meeting and we held on it because of the referendum to legislation. I've since, again, spoken with our employee association. They've decided that they're going to go a different direction with their dues collection, and so they have asked that we go ahead and retire this policy regardless of the referendum. So that's why we're proposing it to you for retirement today.
I move that we adopt policy 4285, dues deduction.
Did you mean
that we retire?
Okay.
That we retire policy 4285.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Wilson and a second by Board Member Clement. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Superintendent Farnsworth.
Yes, I would invite our Executive Director of Human Resources to come forward, Cammie Ann Harper. Appreciate her work and the work that's been done with those who work to support our employees in their benefit package for this next year. She has some information we can review. We shared earlier with the board what that compensation package looks like for our certified employees, for our classified employees. It is similar. The state has done different compensation with respect to classified versus certified, so we're honoring that, extending that to those who are not covered, and then adding an additional COLA, cost of living allowance, to those classifications of employees, as well as no increase in insurance costs. We're also, Jason, I believe, honoring the 32 hours of summer work that's able to be done through legislative support. And what am I forgetting in that package?
The Tier 2 retirement into their 401k.
This is part of the budget that we reviewed in study session, and we would recommend that the board approve this benefit package for our employees. We appreciate the great working relationship we have with them. We understand there is some state statute and referendum associated with collective bargaining. As we committed earlier on behalf of the board, we have a great working relationship with them, and we'll continue to confer with them regardless of the changes in the law. We will comply with the law, but we will maintain that relationship of doing all we can as a board and as a senior leadership team to honor and compensate our employees well. Alpine is one of the leaders in the state in terms of employee compensation. We're proud of that. That enables us to attract wonderful employees, and we want to continue to be able to do that, especially as we go into new school districts. So, Cammie, I'll allow you to add any additional comments you wish to regarding that process or the outcome.
Do we want to go into any specifics?
We want to go into specifics.
As you deem appropriate.
Okay. Well, we do want to thank, once again, our employee associations. We did have some great meetings with them and appreciate their advocacy on behalf of our employees. Both the new word now for classified is education support professionals. So we're trying to get used to calling them that, and then our certified. So we want to thank them. We can get into specifics if that's okay. There was a large increase in insurance costs, not as much as we had last year, so we're very pleased with the impact that our insurance changes we made last year have had on our utilization. So Alpine School District will be covering that cost so that there will not be any change to our employee insurance. For certified, we are 2.5% COLA is what we're recommending. With the money that they're getting from the legislature, that will take them above, the average salary will be above 4% increase. Also step-in lanes and the money into the tier 2 employees into their 401k, it will be 0.405% is what we'll be contributing. And then the classified, or ESP, our education support professionals, because they are getting less money from the legislature and it's not ongoing, they have a larger COLA, so it's a 3%. With that COLA, in addition to the money they're getting from the legislature, that will be over a 4% salary increase as well. They will be getting the tier 2 money into their 401k from the district. Will be covering their insurance. We'll also be making some job movement on the job study. I don't have the details of which positions. I apologize. That happened at the end of the day today, so I don't have that. And then step-in lane, and there was one other thing I'm missing on certified that I just forgot what it was. But I think those are the general, and then we will have some policies that we'll be making some changes to. We're just going through the final revisions with the board approval on those. But really the big highlight from the policies is that we are, by state statute, required to have our maternity and paternity leave. It can't be less than what state employees get. And so now our employees that qualify for benefits will be getting 3 weeks of maternity leave. That doesn't count against sick leave. And then they'll also be getting, people who qualify for parental leave will be getting 3 weeks of that also. So we'll send more details out as that comes available.
We briefly mentioned the 32 hours as well.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if that was the other benefit.
That was probably it. So in the past, based on the legislature gives us a certain amount of money, and based off of what our employees are making, we have to divide that up, and we haven't been able to fully fund the 32 hours since the first year that it was announced. And now, because the legislature has given us additional funding, we will be able to do the 32 hours. And I do remember the other thing for ESP and certified, there were some jobs that were not included by the legislature to give them that extra money, the extra ESA. So for classified, all of the district level employees, unless they were a bus driver. So nutrition service workers, physical facilities,
all of those employees were not covered in this extra $1,000. So Alpine School District is going to cover that $1,000 for those employees. And then there are 3 classifications of employees in certified, our occupational therapists, our physical therapists, and our speech language technologists, techs, sorry. And we are covering the extra money that the legislature is giving to everyone else. We're covering it for them.
Just to clarify, bus drivers were covered by the state.
Yes.
So we're covering those that were not
We're
covered
not
by
covered
the
by the
state.
state, yes. Thank you.
A lot of information to keep track of and just have off the cuff, so well done.
Okay, so for the FY26 employee benefit package, we can have a discussion or a motion.
I have a question or a statement. I just wanted to clarify that as you reached out to different associations, if there were multiple associations in that same space, that they were all given opportunity to comment.
Yes, the ones we're aware of, I reached out to. Thank you.
I have a question, if that's all right. Is there anything time sensitive about our actions tonight?
Giving peace of mind to our employees. They are feeling there is a lot of uncertainty. There's uncertainty with collective bargaining and the referendum. There's uncertainty with district split. There is a lot of uncertainty, and if we could get approval tonight and be able to share details tomorrow, we believe that it would go a long way in helping to settle our employees.
Can you tell me the significance of the May 7th preference/deadline?
So the May 7th, and I may need some help from someone, but if my understanding of the bill is correct, we need to have a contract in place before the bill goes into effect on May 7th in order to be able to have a contract. We still don't know what the format of this agreement is going to look like, so that's why we're doing it this way, which is a little bit out of the ordinary.
So I would like to move that we approve, accept, and adopt FY26 employee benefit package.
I appreciate that you covered all your bases there, Mark. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Board Member Clement and a second by Board Member Wilson. Any discussion?
Clarify one other point for our administrators, that is a 4%
Thank you.
COLA.
Yes.
Honoring step and lane and all the other benefits that were.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I have another question that I forgot to ask earlier. If there's any change in educators' compensation based on the ruling last Friday of the Utah Fits All scholarship not being constitutional, and where there had been money tied to that, would we then have the opportunity to revisit this?
Yes, we would. If that funding is pulled by the state, then of course we would need to go back and make compensating adjustments in the benefit package.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Superintendent Farnsworth. I'm sorry, we don't do that. I need someone to come yell at me.
You have received the membership report in your board documents, and I would recommend that you take a look at that. The trends that we have been seeing throughout the year continue. We will have one more of these at the end, well, 2 more of these to conclude the year, and then we'll be done with membership reports for a season. But you have received that, and I'm happy to entertain any questions you have regarding that.
Okay, so I think we're all good with that. It's now time for board member and superintendent report and information items. So if anyone would like to share, we'd like to open the floor.
I'm just so excited that
I was going to jump in, but Joylyn, I'll go after you.
that I did want to accept and adopt the high school in Saratoga Springs that is in my area, and we are so grateful to begin that process. We've waited for a very long time like that for that. I also had a very unique opportunity to be a part of the prom for ATEC, ATEC East, ATEC West, Dan Peterson, and Horizon. This event is easily in one of my top 20 best days of my life. The joy and excitement that filled the air brought tears and smiles to all present. And I'm just going to go ahead and turn time over to the good member, board member Bateman, to share her thoughts and list the thank yous.
It is one of the best nights ever. Wanted to thank a few people. You know, in education, we don't quite have the budget that we would love for some of the things that we do. And so just wanted to say thank you to some folks who made this night possible. Carson Cook and the Lehigh High School Student Council, specifically Flossie, Danica, Rachel, Haley, Mace, Desi, Jacob, Michael, Grace, Anna, and Keaton. They came and put several hours in after school. We hung up several hundred stars, Hollywood stars, for our students. And it was a very cool thing for them to walk into. Also, Alicia with our photo booth comes and gives her time, and then Shauna and Lacey, our photographers. It is, I don't know how to articulate this well. It is a really very amazing night. Also, thank you to our communications team, who will not love this, but Karen Ashman and Easton came, and they were facilitating with KSL to story on one of our students. And anytime that we can share a student's journey is a good day in my book. And so KSL was able to follow her from getting ready and her day picking her up, coming to the prom, and then she was crowned Duchess, I believe. And it is, anyways, it's the best thing ever, just trust. And so we're just very appreciative to all the people who come together to make it happen, particularly because these students are in specialty schools. And so, oh my good night. And please, Crumble, thank you to David Stevenson, Rhonda Bromley, and crew who come. I think that's the first thing the kids ask about every year is Crumble coming again. And they come with hundreds of Crumble cookies, and they serve the kids, and that is a highlight of their day. So we are just really appreciative to everybody who shows up, donates time and goods and talents and things. It's really a remarkable night.
Board member
I
Beeson.
just had a report on a committee assignment. The Human Sexuality Committee met last week, and we discussed some changes because of the HB 281 that's mainly going to affect some of our health curriculum. They added some of the legislation. It just added the success sequence. Basically, the success sequence is that we are to be teaching in our health classes things that should be done in sequential order, like obtaining an education, obtaining a job, and getting married before having kids. And that if we do these things in sequential order, we see that people are able to pull themselves out of poverty easier. So that is part of HB 281, and that will you'll probably be seeing some changes in our Health 2 classes in Unit 6, and that will be added. And so one of the things that we also did discuss, that I tried to think of any other committee that we all attend that has parents on that particular committee or any committee. And I think that Human Sexuality Committee is one of the only ones that we have parents that participate and help approve things that we discuss there. And as we were discussing last week, we do have parents there that represent the central part of the district as well as the south part of the district, but not necessarily a parent in the west. And because we have to approve curriculum yearly, it would be great to have someone that would possibly represent the west area. So we could have just a continued support, but also continue with parents, and kind of as we go in and we segue into a three-way district, we have that already set up, and so we don't have to worry about that. But if there is parents, and you board members know of parents, specifically those of you out west, Julie and Joy Lynn, that would be willing to serve on the Human Sexuality Committee, You two can talk to me later about that. But we're happy to meet and approve some of those things. And so there's some exciting things with this particular bill. And I'm very, very supportive of the success part of the bill, the success sequence. I feel like that's an important part to teach our kids. And we had some great discussion on that. So that's just a report from my committee.
I forgot a few people. I'm so sorry. So back to prom. Jake and Brent, who are two of the custodians at Lehigh High School, who were there for many hours and so helpful from after school all the way through the night. There's a lot of people coming through there, and they just did absolutely everything that we needed. And then I also wish to sing the praises of Phil Clark. I really should write him a RISE nomination. My very favorite thing about this job is the community and when people come together for kids. And when I first called Phil and said, hey, can we do this at your school? We had kind of outgrown our previous space. And he was like, absolutely, let's figure out what you need. And was not supposed to spend his whole afternoon and early evening helping to get things set up, and he did. And while I'm singing his praises, I will also just say he is just one of our best administrators, and I love watching him, whether it's getting a kid in the class in the hall who needs to get to class on time or stopping to talk with someone who's just kind of having a rough day. He is truly extraordinary, and I appreciate that his efforts reach all of our students. So thank you to him.
I just wanted to say a big thank you to all those who showed up for a community meeting in my area that board member Peterson and I sponsored at Timpanogos High School. We had it in the little theater, and it turns out it was too little because it was pretty much standing room only. Our community is really interested in doing everything we can to form a new vibrant and vital, healthy school district, and I just appreciate all those who showed up, and especially to the superintendent and Farnsworth and our business administrator, Jason Sundberg, who gave us some very important and vital information that we need to as we make adjustments in our district. Thank you. Emily, you were there too.
Yeah, I thought it was really great. People had good questions, made good comments, and I really appreciate Dr. Farnsworth and Jason for coming and putting forth all that work. It was really great. So I think we have got some really good opportunities. I'm excited about the prospects.
Can I just make one comment, Julie? I just am looking out here at our association leaders. We appreciate you being here at our board meeting, and we appreciate the way you represent teachers and staff and all those who make things work for our students. I almost tear up when I think about the service that we get from our teachers, administrators, a bus driver who also runs a club for students that are having trouble, janitors who mentor students. I just love the Alpine family and the way we all come together because we care about kids. I don't know how to express it, but as we're trying to, I hope you realize as a board that we are just trying to provide compensation. We know it's not enough, but we're doing our very best. I hope that you'll also realize how much we care about you and appreciate the service from all of our teachers and staff and those who really help to build the next generation of our public. So thank you so much for being here.
I would just echo Mark's comments, and on behalf of my team, the staff, I appreciate the unanimous vote of the board to support our employees. I think this is a testament to your concern and care for the employees of Alpine School District, and thank you for taking that step that was not required, but is a great show of faith and support for our employees, which I have consistently seen throughout this transition period of reconfiguration, a consistent commitment by the board to take care of our employees. So thank you very much for that.
Superintendent Farnsworth and I were given the opportunity to go meet with the legislative leadership Generally, that is not an activity I look forward to. But we underwent a almost a year-long process of going through an audit with Alpine School District. I have watched several other LEAs go through those, and they're generally pretty painful. And I think it is very clear that we had the best experience an LEA has ever had in front of you know, an OLAG report ever. And I will say one of the things that was communicated to us by legislative leadership was how much they were appreciative of teachers, and we said that we would share that message. So I want to make sure I go on public record to say we're incredibly grateful for everyone in Alpine School District. Every role that gets played makes an impact on students, and we are grateful for everyone who shows up every day committed to our students and to our community, so thank you for that. We do have need for a closed session, so we need to take a roll call vote. I'll entertain a motion for us to move into closed session.
I move that we move into closed session for purposes of litigation, personnel, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Wilson and a second by Board Member Bateman. Board Member Wilson, if we could start with you. If you're in favor, please say aye. If you're opposed, please say nay.
Board Member Wilson, aye.
Board Member Lincoln, aye.
Board Member Clement, aye.
Board Member Bateman, aye.
Board Member King, aye.
Board Member Peterson, aye.
Board Member Beeson, aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. We are now moving into closed session. Thank you all for being here.